I'm going to go ahead and get to Eric Herschmann, attorney for Brett Favre here. I believe we got him on the line. Eric, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Eric, we appreciate you taking some time, my friend, on this Monday.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Definitely. I know you're making the rounds. I know it's a crazy time right now. What I want to do for our audience, I know most of them have been keeping up with this. Do you mind just giving a little bit of the lay of the land and where we're at with this Brett situation with, the defamation, some things that were happening? Because I don't think people know the full scope of what he was kind of, being accused of in the national media without there really being a lot of merit to some of these accusations. And when you dig, there's a lot that kind of unravels a little bit there, Eric.
There really is. I mean, this is one of the strangest cases I think I've ever seen, and I've been doing this for a long time. Brett decided to help his alma mater and said he'll help them raise funds to build a indoor volleyball facility. And the university said, great. And he went about and agreed that he'd help with fundraising. He spoke to different people in the state, spoke to the governor himself about it, and the state agreed to help with the fundraising. And Brett went to others to get some money and gave money himself. Excuse me. And after he did that, it turns out that the money came from a state agency, went eventually to Southern Miss, and they got an indoor wellness center. And somewhere in that sequence, they sued Brett for the money. And I mean, the money literally never left the state. Excuse me. And so, we made a motion to dismiss. The state dropped most of its allegations against Brett Favre and changed its theory in its new complaint.
Really?
And they literally say that money went from a state agency to the Southern Miss University for the Southern Miss University to get a building on its campus, and Brett is liable because the money was taken in, it was welfare funds. That's the gist of their case.
I mean, and it's easy to track, correct? I mean, you don't have to be. Go ahead.
It is easy to track. I mean, this is the strangest case. Brett never got any of this money.
Wow.
They're suing him for $5 million that went from MDHS, the state agency that's responsible for welfare funds, and ended up in the pocket of another state agency, Southern Miss.
Wow.
And for some way, they think that's a theft.
Yeah, I'm just that's shocking to me. And then you see kind of how it blossomed and turned into this narrative. And we had Brett on kind of as this was going. Now, we didn't talk to him about this, but all of a sudden you see some of these parties that have been listed. I mean, I could say them here, obviously, with Pat and Shannon, those people just took that and just ran with it. Do you think there was some nefarious narrative or just people just getting clicks out of using Brett Favre's name in a derogatory light?
I think it's both. I think that for the state auditor, he decided he's going to make himself famous on Brett Favre's back.
Okay.
And no one ever heard of him before this. And the irony of this entire case is he talks about how the state auditor and his team did such a great job on covering this. But the announcement of the facility was public. There was a ribbon cutting, the full 9 yards, press release. No one said a word about it. No one complained about it. The attorney general for the state of Mississippi and the Institute for Higher Learning said everybody signed off on the deal. Only, it says, when the governor, his boss, who appointed him, called him up and told him about it, did they decide it's a problem.
Wow.
And there may be a problem within Mississippi, I'm not saying, but this really has nothing to do with Brett.
Yeah. No, that's
well, yeah, Mr. Herschmann, we appreciate you helping break this down here because we get asked about it a lot. Is there someone who is in the wrong in this situation and it's just not Brett Favre, or is everyone clean here and it's just a misunderstanding?
No, I think there are people that are in the wrong. They've pled guilty.
Okay.
And people that actually got money pled guilty. The thing with Brett is Brett didn't get any of this money. The only money that Brett got was for work that he did for a not-for-profit. He did work for the not-for-profit. He got paid. He found out that the money came from welfare funds. He was unaware of it. And he gave all the money back. After he gave all the money back, the state sued him for the same money.
Gotcha. Okay,
so we moved to dismiss that, and the state withdrew it, obviously.
So that right there, that's what, because another question we get asked is there was a situation where Brett Favre returned some of the money that he was being sued for what, like speeches or something, whatever you said. Is that the money you're talking about there?
Yeah, he wasn't even sued for it.
Okay.
Just so you understand, this entire thing was, he did worked for a not-for-profit. He did some advertising and some radio hits for them. He got paid. He found out afterwards that the not-for-profit had taken money inappropriately, and he voluntarily gave the money back. No one ever sued him for it, right? After he gave the money back, then they sued him.
Yeah, gotcha.
Well, it just sounds to me like we see a lot in today's society where there's a problem that gets exacerbated, that is then attached to a big name, then it gets thrown into the national spotlight and it gets muddied up. My question, and Blaine, obviously I want to get to you, is I know Brett didn't seek out wanting to get money from people who were saying bad things about him. But when it gets to a certain level where people like Pat McAfee and Shannon Sharpe are basically defaming you on live TV about something that they are not 100% read up on. I mean, Eric, is this about as much of a slam dunk as you've seen when it's come down to people being talked about in this manner in a national spotlight with no repercussions?
We think it's a slam dunk. I will tell you that Shannon Sharpe, since he's been sued, has been quiet.
Yeah.
Pat McAfee keeps talking about it. And in all my years of being an attorney and being a prosecutor previously, I don't think I've ever seen a defendant build a case against himself.
Yeah.
More than Pat is.
Yeah.
So he just keeps talking about it. And he says, oh, his defense was I threw in the word allegedly. Well, two things is the things that we cite, he didn't throw in the word allegedly. That's the first part. And secondly, if he did any research or he had a lawyer looking, he would realize that's not really a defense.
Yeah.
But Monty Jones should be up there too. He's been out saying a lot of stuff as well.
There are other people that are out there. You know, we've made our decision to start here. We sued, Shad White, the state auditor, and he issued a statement claiming falsely that we accused all the employees of the state auditor's office of lying. We never made that claim. We said he defamed Brett Favre. We asked him to withdraw it and apologize. He refused. We sued him in his personal capacity, so it doesn't come out of the taxpayers' money when he has to pay for the damages, and he is defending the case using his office.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, one of the things that stood out to me from the very beginning, when I first heard about this, the headline was something along the lines of Brett Favre stole welfare money from poor people in Mississippi. And immediately when I first heard that, that's why I wanted us to be very cautious with this from the get-go, because as if to think that Brett Favre would have access, like he's Danny Ocean, like going in and actually stealing money, right?
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things that
Eric
sort
likes the Danny Ocean.
it's sort of
He's writing that down right now. It's like, God, that's a good one.
I like that
down on a cord or something like he's Danny.
He's like, man, Elon Musk knows what the hell he's talking about over
If
here.
anybody can, it's Elon
Hey,
Musk.
I'll build you an electric car too. Don't worry about it.
That's exactly. There's some money there. Good.
I think that's really a great point. The entire funds were controlled by the state.
Yeah.
So MDHS is a state agency. They directed the money through the university's not-for-profit to the university. So it goes from one state agency to another state agency, and the state itself owns the building. And it's amazing that they haven't sued the university and say, give us back the money for the building. And we think it's obvious you can't steal from yourself.
Yeah. No, that is a great point, David. And you've talked about that many times. Blaine,
Yeah, I'm going to Cal Kenny. He wants to know, how's Brett doing through all this? Is he handling it well? And also, is he angry just being dragged into this entire mess?
I think he's upset, and I think he's justifiably upset. And this has hurt him financially. This is a guy who's probably the most famous alumnus of Southern Miss. He has gone to bat for them over and over and over again. And people try to link it to his daughter, but when he wanted Southern Miss to try to recruit Deion Sanders' kid, who was a top recruit, he said, you're going to need an indoor practice facility. So he said, well, let's try to help Southern Miss get an indoor practice facility. Obviously, his daughter isn't playing Division I football.
Yeah.
But he's been supportive of the university forever. And he wants to help the university any way he can. And he really feels he went out to do a good thing, and they really damaged his reputation.
Yeah. I mean, it's different when it comes from the inside, man. I mean, that's something that's wild. Well, Eric, we know you're super busy, man. We really appreciate you taking some time today to kind of shed some light on this situation, because I don't think people really, they just see the headline and they assume one thing and don't really dive into it and figure out what's going on. We'd love to have you on in the future as this kind of plays out. Do you expect this to be a long process?
Listen, we hope the judge is going to grant our motion to dismiss. I mean, the fact that the state completely changed its theory from its first complaint to its amended complaint should tell everybody what they need to know.
Definitely.
It's really time to put an end to this.
Yeah, it is too. And again, we've had Brett on, and I know one thing. I think Brett just wants to be in the stand somewhere watching the animals go out in the green field.
Yeah.
But Eric, we appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, guys.
Hey, YouTube, we appreciate you guys checking us out. Do us a favor. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Turn that notification bell on so you know whenever we drop content. We'd really appreciate it.